For rejoining us again. This program is powered by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. Up next is the Bulletin of News with Emmanuel Sensee. Good evening, Emmanuel.
Good evening, Naketa. Good evening, everyone. The Ministry of Health has officially discharged four import patients following successful treatment and full recovery. The ministry said the patients completed all treatment and isolation protocols. In a statement issued on Wednesday, the Ministry of Health disclosed it has commissioned facility-based case management for MPOP at the National Infectious Disease Center after urban areas in Montserrat noted an upsurge of mpox cases. The ministry said the National Infectious Disease Center provides medical, psychosocial, and nutrition support to mpox cases. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry has extended appreciation to the gallant frontline workers, county health officers, and community partners for their unwavering commitment to containing the virus. The release quotes the ministry as saying the collective efforts of all partners continue to play a vital role in safeguarding public health and preventing further transmission. The ministry at the same time urged citizens, residents, community leaders, and healthcare workers to reinforce precautionary measures, including frequent hand washing, using soap and clean water or alcohol-based sanitizer, refrain from physical contact with individuals displaying symptoms such as rashes or fever, among others. The Secretary General of the National Patriotic Party has officially distanced the party from the recent statement issued by Chairman George Mulba and Bolton Dennings in defense of Senator Edwin Snow. Andrew Peters stressed that the views expressed by Chairman George Mulba and Bolton Dennings do not reflect the official stance of the NPP. The Secretary General is therefore calling on Anthony George Mulba and Bolton Dennings to retract their statement in support of Senator Snow. Peters maintained that the National Patriotic Party has never convened to discuss issues concerning the road between Senator Snow and the government of Liberia. He condemned the public statements made by Chairman Mulba and Bolton Dennings as false and misleading, asserting that these comments do not represent the party's views. Andrew Peters has meanwhile urged all members of the National Patriotic Party not to be soiled by these statements and to remain unified in their support of the party's mission. Action Aid Liberia on Wednesday, May 28, 2025, joined the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection in collaboration with several partners to commemorate World Menstrual Day, Health and Hygiene in Monrovia. The event emphasized the importance of women's empowerment and the prioritization of menstrual health with a specific call for the removal or significantly reduction of tariff on menstrual hygiene products. Celebrated under the global theme Together for a Period Friendly World with a national theme empowering and prioritizing menstrual health for a dignified Liberia. The occasion was attended by government and non-government officials, students, and community residents. In her remarks, Action Aid Country Director Madam Elizabeth Ban Johnson highlighted the significance of the event, describing it as a platform to amplify the voices of girls and women who are often silenced by stigma, poverty, and systematic neglect, particularly regarding menstrual hygiene management. She disclosed that Action Aid works to strengthen the capacity of people living in poverty and exclusion, especially women, to assert their rights. Furthermore, she maintained Action Aid Liberia's collaboration with community organizations, women's movements, groups, and network social movement and other alliances to address the structural causes and consequences of poverty and injustice. She disclosed that research indicates more than 60% of schoolgirls in rural areas lack access to basic menstrual hygiene materials, a situation that forces them out of school monthly. Action Aid Liberia has joined call to remove or significantly reduce tariff on menstrual hygiene products, stating that such a policy decision could immediately improve the lives of thousands of girls and women, allowing them to stay in school, work, and live with dignity. Also speaking, Water Aid Liberia Health Advocacy Manager Matthew Due urged men across the country to remain supportive to female, especially during their difficult times of menstruation. Due maintained that the fight against discrimination, stigmatization, and other forms of unwanted acts meted against women due to menstrual period cannot be achieved without the involvement of men. He believes that men have a greater role to play in the fulfillment of such process. For her part, Deputy Gender Minister Laura Golake emphasized that the significance of empowering females in the fight against menstrual stigmatization and other challenges is essential. Deputy Minister Golake, among other things, highlighted the need for joint efforts with partners to provide menstrual hygiene kits to young girls and advocate for a policy change. The head of the Lutheran Church in Liberia has called on the Liberia Council of Churches to wake up from its slumber and engage in robust advocacy for the transformation of the country. Bishop Victor Patmo said in recent times, members of the Liberia Council of Churches have been silent on many ills prevailing in the Liberian society. Bishop Patmo made their session Wednesday when he delivered a sermon on the theme Wake Up and Walk Wisely at the opening of the 35th General Assembly of the Liberia Council of Churches taking place in Painesville. In remarks, the Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches, Reverend Dr. Christopher Toole, encouraged members of the council to get on board rather than sitting on the fence to criticize the council. According to Reverend Toole, the Liberia Council of Churches, the moral authority religious leaders and Liberians in general rely on to solve the social, economic, and political issues in Liberia. The Assembly of the LCC, under the theme Reconciliation Acknowledging the Past, Accepting the Present, and Adjusting for the Future with True Healing, continues this Thursday with Reverend Dr. Fidon Wumbinke, the General Secretary of All Africa Conference of Churches based in Nairobi, Kenya, expected to deliver the keynote address. Liberia Council of Churches President, Reverend Dr. Samuel Reeves, will also deliver his message to the delegates, who are expected to elect new corps of officers to govern the affairs of the council for the next term. Some members of the All Liberia Coalition Party are calling on the party's chairman Ansu Dole to resign. The group has issued Chairman Dole of intention. Thus, the group has accused Chairman Dole of intentionally avoiding engagement with party members and attempting to undermine a planned protest scheduled to demand his resignation from ARCO. They asserted that Ansu Dole has failed to address significant issues concerning his leadership as chairman of the party. According to the concerned members, the ARCO chairman has deliberately invaded dialogue and accountability, which they believe reinforces the urgency and legitimacy of their call for his immediate resignation. The group made the assertions Wednesday in a press conference in Monrovia through its chairperson Musa Keita. The president of the West African Postgraduate College of Nurses and Midwives has appealed to governments in the West African region to assist the institution in constructing its headquarters in Abuja, Nigeria. Dr. Selad Gakba disclosed that the college has purchased a portion of land in Abuja and needs assistance from governments in the region since international funding has reduced drastically. Dr. Gaba made the appeal Wednesday at the second day of the 18th biannual general meeting of the West African Postgraduate College of Nurses and Midwives taking place in Monrovia. Delivering the keynote speech at the program, a Liberian public health expert, Madam Wose Gobedwia, advanced a number of recommendations aimed at improving nursing and midwife services in the West African region. Madam Gobedwia recommended that nurses and midwives engage governments for more funding and be scientific in their undertakings. The meeting, under the theme Collaboration and Partnership Towards Improving Quality Healthcare in the West African Region, brought together over 450 delegates from the West African region. Prosecuting lawyers have admitted to consider Johnny Momo's claims that his ex-lover Mary Nolan's indictment contained the same avertments of her previous action at the Broadview Magisterial Court, which was dismissed by the court with prejudice to the state. Madam Nolan's lawyer, Counsellor Wilkins Wright, told the court that though the avertments are the same, the charges are different. Councillor Wright argued that his client's previous action, which was dismissed with prejudice to the state, bordered on domestic violence and disorderly conduct, while the indictment charges include theft of property, burglary, and criminal conspiracy, adding that such application cannot quash his client's indictment. But Councillor Johnny Momo has rejected Councillor Wright's claim, saying Madam Nolan entered a nolling prosecution on March 9, 2024 before the Broadview Magisterial Court with a legal provision to the court not to return consistent with Chapter 18, Section 18.1 of the Criminal Procedure Law of Liberia. Councillor Momo maintained that her account to the court means that she cannot surface with the same avertments for another litigation. Councillor Momo noted that to reappear with the same story is a fit subject to quench her criminal indictment as provided by law. Our judicial correspondent said, following both lawyers' claims and counterclaims, Judge Joe Bacon has reserved ruling into the matter pending notice of assignment. This is Madam Mary Nolan's second complaint against Councillor Johnny Momo after she lost the unethical case at the Grievance and Ethics Committee and later took flight to the Supreme Court for redress, where she also lost consistent with the law. A youth-led civil society organization, Center for Youth Civic Leadership and Environmental Studies, has stressed the need for development of a comprehensive emissions inventory as means of addressing climate change in Liberia. According to the group, when developed, the comprehensive emissions inventory will serve as a robust baseline for setting realistic targets and accurately tracking progress in the fight against climate change. Reading its policy statement at a call to action youth engagement event Wednesday in Monrovia, the group, through its coalition lead person, Peace Kaked, among other things, underscored insufficient sectorial data and monitoring lack of gender-responsive commitment, limited inclusivity, and stakeholder engagement as key gaps in identified in the implementation of the nationally determined contribution to, stressing the need to address it in the NDC 3. To address those gaps in the implementation of the 3, Kanked recommended the formulation of a national climate finance strategy, institutionalized inclusive participation, and integrate specific and measurable gender-responsive target. He admonished the Environmental Protection Agency of Liberia and all development partners for championing a highly consultative, transparent, and evidence-based process for the formulation of NDC 3. Peace Kanked emphasized that the collective commitment and decisive action of all stakeholders is paramount in delivering a transformative climate pathway that secures a sustainable and prosperous future for all Liberians. And the bodies of 11 people believed to have been migrants have been found inside a boat washed onto the shores of the Caribbean island of Kano, which forms part of St. Vincent and Grenadines. The identities of those on board remain unclear, a police official said, but several passports found at the scene suggest they were from Mali, a landlocked country in Western Africa, more than 6,000 kilometers, making it 3,800 miles away. The boat, a ship measuring 45 feet, 14 meters in length, 12 feet in width, and 6 feet in depth, was found grounded in Little Bay on Monday. The discovery comes just months after a boat with 13 dead bodies, some of whom also had Malian documents, was found washed ashore in St. Kitts and Nevis. Authorities in Sensee and the Ginidins said they were alerted to the boat with the 11 deceased migrant on Monday. Thus,
Ria TV, True FM.
Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
into True FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrier? The black barrier is to tell Joseph Bakala, if you don't organize yourself in a grateful manner, we'll keep your later like
you might say what you want to say, but for us, we are here to make sure we build our country, that we are respected. We have donors that are coming because of the confidence.
News Summary of 12. My name is Hansen Der Represent. Welcome to News and Analysis 30 minutes of news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and our one world.
Presenting this newscast is proudly sponsored by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited.
How is life after the presidency?
But before the presidency, the same life, that's what you see. I have a different life. You know, when I was not president, this life, that's what I live, you know, with my family and
I have a lot of interest in the health sector, the educational sector, and the agriculture sector. Roads, connecting roads in this country.
Bulletin of news on today's edition of the program News Dex. One of the top stories we follow in tonight: the Ministry of Health discharges 4 Mpox patients from hospital following successful treatment and full recovery, calls for strict adherence to public health protocols. To our first development tonight, the Ministry of Health has officially discharged 4 Mpox patients following successful treatment and full recovery. The ministry said the patients completed all treatment and isolation protocols. In a statement issued on Wednesday, the Ministry of Health disclosed it has commissioned facility-based case management for Mpox at the National Infectious Disease Center after urban areas in Maserado noted an upsurge of Mpox cases. The ministry said the National Infectious Disease Center provides medical, psychological, and nutritional support to Mpox cases. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry has extended appreciation to the gallant frontline workers, community health officers, and community partners for their unwavering commitment to containing the virus. The release quotes the ministry as saying the collective efforts of all partners continue to play a vital role in safeguarding public health and preventing further transmission. The ministry at the same time urged citizens, residents, community leaders, and health workers to reinforce precautionary measures, including frequent hand washing, using soap and clean water or alcohol-based sanitizer, refrain from physical contact with individuals displaying symptoms such as rashes or fever, among others. The Secretary General of the National Patriotic Party has officially distanced the party from the recent statement issued by Chairman George Moba and Brockton Dennis in defense of Senator Edwin Snow. Andrew Peters stressed that the views expressed by Chairman George Moba and Brockton Dennis do not reflect the official stance of the NPP. The Secretary General is therefore calling on Anthony George Moba and Brockton Dennis to retract their statement in support of Senator Snow. Peters maintained that the National Patriotic Party has never convened to discuss issues concerning the role between Senator Snow and the government of Liberia.
One of the authorities of Anthony George Moba, chairman of the National Patriotic Party, that statement is believed to be in the public as an official position of the National Patriotic Party. Let me say this to our partisans across the border of this country. Within the border of this country, at no time the National Patriotic Party have ever met either in a room or outside of the perimeter of the party compound to discuss issues surrounding Senator Snow and the government of the Republic of Liberia. We want to say this clear that statement issue and in the public by Mr. Mobile and Mr. Boto Dene is completely a diabolical lie and it's not a direct representation of the National Patriotic Party. We, as official and members of the National Patriotic Party, say in this public manner, we disassociate ourselves from that statement and we call on Partisan Mobile and Boto Dene to withdraw their financial influence statement of former Senator Myean. We also want to request President Mobile to ask Senator Snow to write an open complaint on what he termed as government action against him. And once that is all, members of the National Executive Committee will meet in a session, discuss such communication sensibly and make a determination of the to encourage our party not to be deterred of that statement issued by Chairman Mobile and Boto Dennis. As partisans of the National Patriotic Party, the NPP remains supportive of the government action. We will work with the government, make constructive criticism where necessary.
He's the Secretary General of the National Patriotic Party, Andrew Peters, there stressing that the view recently voiced out by Chairman George Mobile and Dr. Dennis do not reflect the stand of the party. Action Aid Liberia on Wednesday, May 28, 2025, joined the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection in collaboration with several partners in commemoration of World Menstrual Health and Hygiene Day in Monrovia. The event emphasized the importance of women's empowerment and the prioritization of menstrual health, with a specific call for the removal or significantly reduction of tariffs on menstrual hygiene products. In her remark, Action Aid Country Director Madam Elizabeth Barr Johnson highlighted the significance of the event, describing it as a platform to amplify the voices of girls and women who are often silenced by stigma, poverty, and systemic neglect, particularly regarding menstrual hygiene.
We gather not just to celebrate the progress, but to amplify the voices of girls and women who are too often silenced by the stigma, poverty, and systematic neglect, particularly when it comes to menstrual hygiene management. Action Aid work to strengthen the capacity and agency of people living in poverty and exclusion, especially women, to accept their rights. We work with communities, people's organizations, women's movement, groups and networks, social movement and other allies to overcome the structural causes and consequences of poverty and injustice. We connect our work we do at community level with broader efforts and struggle for justice at every level to make the a sustainable world. In Liberia, the challenge is urgent and real. Research shows that more than 60% of school girls in Europe now have access to basic menstrual hygiene management materials. They miss school every month. In fact, universities highlights that one in 10 African girls miss school during their period, and some drop entirely. For Liberian girls, the lack of access to clean and safe sanitary facilities, especially marketplaces, continue to limit their dignity, mobility, and opportunity.
She's Action Aid Country Director, Madam Elizabeth Barr Johnson. Meanwhile, Action Aid Liberia has joined call to remove or significantly reduce tariffs on menstrual hygiene products, stating that such a policy decision will immediately improve the lives of thousands of girls and women, allowing them to stay in school, work, and live with dignity. Also speaking, Water Aid Liberia Health Advocacy Manager Matthew Dwayne urged men across the country to remain supportive to females, especially during their difficult times of menstruation. Dwayne maintained that the fight against discrimination, stigmatization, and other forms of unwanted acts melted against women due to menstrual period cannot be achieved without the involvement of men.
I'm not a woman because I feel that we all know that men and boys have very important role to play when it comes to the issue of menstrual hygiene management. So we cannot build a female-friendly Liberia, for example, if half of the people in this country who are male remain stagnant or uninformed. When fathers like me, who has a daughter, right? When brothers, teachers, and male leaders understand and support menstrual health, we can be able to dismantle the stigma surrounding menstruation. When our sons learn that menstruation is normal, not something to mock our daughters, then they become allies that we can use to create that kind of safe and inclusive spaces for our daughters. And we have seen this in the work that we do as at Water Aid. In places such as Franklin County, where male teachers advocate for better facilities, where boys cannot be institutions, and where our fathers are able to provide that kind of hygienic product that their daughter needs. And this is what solidarity looks like. So that we cannot do this all alone. We need everyone from the community, the clinic, and even to our leaders.
Water Aid Liberia Health Advocacy Manager Matthew Dwyer urging men across the country to remain supportive to females, especially during their difficult times of menstruation. For her part, Deputy Gender Minister Laura Golake emphasized the significance of empowering females in the fight against menstrual stigmatization and other challenges.
It's a bit, tricky to talk about it. It's really so nice. And that is how this topic has been treated for generations to generations. All of us are here. But the good thing about this generation is that we are breaking that taboo. We are challenging all the stereotypes, as the people can say. We are talking about menstruation. And as we talk about it, we have the opportunity to talk about all the challenges our women against when they are menstruating. We have the opportunity to talk about how can we make menstrual products sustainable and accessible. How can we look at the taxes that we have so we make happy we want to make sure that we don't if we choose to apply in order to get the one that is selling in the store. One of the things also that we get to do is to look at treating around the room as well.
As Deputy Gender Minister Laura Golake emphasizing the significance of empowering females in the fight against menstrual stigmatization and other challenges. The head of the Lutheran Church in Liberia has called on the Liberian Council of Churches to wake up from its slumber and engage in robust advocacy for the transformation of the country. Bishop Victor Partmo said in recent times, members of the Liberia Council of Churches have been silent on many ills prevailing in the Liberian society. Bishop Partmo made the assertion Wednesday when he delivered a sermon on the theme Wake Up and Walk Wisely at the opening of the 35th General Assembly of the Liberia Council of Churches taking place in Painesville. He is the head of the Lutheran Church in Liberia, Bishop Victor Portmore, calling on the Liberia Council of Churches to wake up from its slumber and engage in robust advocacy for the transformation of the country. In remarks, the Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches, Reverend Dr. Christopher Told, encouraged members of the council to get on board rather than sitting on the fence to criticize the council. He is the Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches, Reverend Dr. Christopher Told. They are encouraging members of the council to get on board rather than sitting on the fence to criticize the council. Members of the All Liberia Coalition Party are calling on the party's chairman Ansu Dole to resign. The group has accused Chairman Dole of intentionally avoiding engagement with party members and attempting to undermine a planned protest scheduled to demand his resignation from ACOLD. They asserted that Dole has failed to address significant issues concerning his leadership as chairman of the party. The group made the assertions Wednesday in a press conference in Monrovia through its chairperson, Musa Keita.
Members of the All Liberal Coalition Party are informing the public, political stakeholders, and the media that they will remain steadfast and unwavering in the demand for transparency, accountability, and principled leadership within the party. This comes amid credible reports that Mr. Dole, who currently holds a leadership position within ACOP, is intentionally avoiding engagement with party members in attempting to evade the planned peaceful protest action scheduled to demand his resignation. Despite efforts to engage constructively, Mr. Dole has continuously failed to address key concerns regarding his management of the party affairs. His deliberate evasion of dialogue and accountability only reinforces the urgency and legitimacy of our cause for his immediate resignation and for a full exposure of all financial and administrative dealings under his leadership. Additionally, the body has been not silence our demand for accountability. Instead, we welcome any legal proceeding as it presents an opportunity to expose the systematic mismanagement and unilateral decision making that has become synonymous with Mr. Ansu Dole's leadership.
Is Musta Keita, the chairperson of some members of the All Liberia Coalition Party, calling on the party's chairman Ansu Dole to resign. You're listening to 45 minutes of news from the News and Current Affairs Department here at the Renaissance Communications Incorporated. This news program is powered by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. In more news, the president of the West African Postgraduate College of Nurses and Midwives has appealed to governments in the West African region to assist the institution in constructing its headquarters in Abuja, Nigeria. Dr. Salid Gabar disclosed that the college has purchased a portion of land in Abuja and needs assistance from governments in the region since international fundings have reduced drastically. Dr. Gabar made the appeal Wednesday at the second day of the 18th biannual general meeting of the West African Postgraduate College of Nurses and Midwives taking place in Monrovia.
Fellows of the college will discuss ways of sustaining the provision of quality medical science, including those funded by the partners who are graduating with merit from the region. We shall continue to provide quality medical science to the civil population of the region in the best way, despite the many challenges that include increased migration of nurses and students from the region, other parts of the world, that the country of Australia, who are the innovation, as well as lack of equipment in rural areas. Thereby making huge contribution in the training of key workers, requiring respect to numerous scientists, including our provision of quality certificate for appointment, placement, and evaluation.
He is the president of the West African Postgraduate College of Nurses and Midwives, Dr. Salid Gabar. Delivering the keynote speech at the program, or Liberian public health expert, Madam Wanzi Gobal advanced a number of recommendations aimed at improving nursing and midwife services in the West African region. Prosecuting lawyers have admitted to Councillor Johnny Momo's claim that his ex-lover Marie Nimplo's indictment contained the same averts of her previous action at the Braville Magistrates Court, which was dismissed by the court with prejudice to the state. Madam Nimplo's lawyer, Councillor Watkins Wright, told the court that though the avertments are the same, the charges are different. A youth-led civil society organization, Center for Youth Civic Leadership and Environmental Studies, has stressed the need for the development of a comprehensive emissions inventory as means of addressing climate change in Liberia. According to the group, when developed, the comprehensive emissions inventory would serve as a robust baseline for setting realistic targets and accurately targeting that's progress in the fight against climate change. Reading its policy statement at a call to action youth engagement event on Wednesday in that's the group through its coalition lead person Peace Crackhead, among other things, underscored insufficient sectoral data and monitoring, lack of gender-responsive commitments, limited inclusivity, and stakeholder engagement as key gaps identified in the implementation of the nationally determined contribution 2.0, stressing the need to address it in the NDC 3.0.
Led tracking and review of the NDC 2.0 stalking report have revealed the following significant gaps that have impeded full realization of the Liberian climate goals: insufficient sectoral data and monitoring. Lack of detailed sectoral review data, because all non-sectors have hindered recent progress, tracking, and informed decision making. Inadequate financial mobilization and strategy. A critical financial shortfall persists. The absence of a clear and robust strategy for mobilizing both domestic and international climate finance has been a primary later inclusive stakeholder engagement. With monitoring
He's the Center for Youth Civic Leadership and Environmental Studies Coalition lead person, Peace Crankhead. To end this newscast, a recap of the top stories we have been following tonight. Ministry of Health discharges 4 mpox patients from hospital following successful treatment and full recovery, calls for strict adherence to public health protocols. Glaring sign of splits in the National Patriotic Party as Secretary General Andrew Peters distances the party from recent statements made by Chairman George Morba in defense of Senator Edwin Snow. Action Aid Liberia echoes calls for government to remove tariffs on menstrual hygiene products as it joins the Ministry of Gender and other partners in celebrating World Menstrual Health and Hygiene Day. Out of Liberia, bodies of 11 people believed to be migrants from Malay from inside a boat watch on shores of the Caribbean island and Canal, the BBC is reporting. Many thanks to our contributors, editors, writers, and all those who helped in making today's edition of the program News Desk a success. Not forgetting our sponsors, Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. Emmanuel Sensee brought us the Bulletin of News. Kopo Sanga coordinated the sounds. Myean Torgbean has been behind the cameras. I've been Akisa Roberts anchoring. Good night.
Ria TV, True FM.
Okay, Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
Into True FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrier? The black barrier is to tell Joseph Bakala, if you don't organize yourself in your grateful manner, we'll keep your plate alive.
You might say what you want to say, but for us, we are here to make sure we build our country, that we are respected. We have donors that are coming because of the confidence.
News summary at 12. My name is Sensee, the representative. Welcome to News and Analysis 30 minutes of news presentation about Liberia, Africa, and our one world.
Presenting this newscast is proudly sponsored by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited.
How is life after the presidency?
But before the presidency, the same life that what you see. I live a different life. You know, when I was not president, this life that what I live, you know, with my family and
I have a lot of interest in the health sector, the educational sector, and the agriculture sector. Roads, connecting roads in this country.
We are calling international community to come to intervene for us because, like I just stated previously, we don't know who to trust.
Always make sure to turn on to our
Ria TV and listening to True FM 96.1.